Welcome to No Gate Fees with Brent Martineau on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of No Gate Fees presented by Nimick Buick GMC, Baker Sports, and Perfect Rack Billiards. We will name a Coach of the Week for this week. Coming up in just a little bit on the show, we will visit with Leah Stevens from Matanzas, one of the star pitchers in the state of Florida. She's headed to be a Florida Gator, by the way, and more on her story, which is kind of an incredible one, an inspirational one as well. And on and off the field, we'll talk to her in just a little bit. Brent Martineau here at the Players Championship, so maybe we should talk some local golf as well. We do like to talk youth sports. And all these guys grew up on the youth sports scene, of course. We primarily talk baseball and softball on the show, but how a lot of different things are kind of morphed into these sports that also spread out with so many other youth sports and now high school sports and getting into college sports as well. Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby, along for the ride here on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for hanging out with us again from the beautiful TPC Sawgrass on a gorgeous day on the eve of the 2025 Players Championship. And so a couple of things to get to, right? We have some updates on our committed to the uncommitted. In fact, two that we've already put on the show. One last week have already committed just in the last couple of days. We're excited about that. We'll introduce you to a couple of softballers that coaches should keep on their radar, especially heading into the summer, because these are juniors out of West Nassau that we'll tell you about. We also have our High Five Power Poll. Will anything change? How difficult are these polls getting? Let me answer my own question. They're getting very difficult in some respects, but easy in other respects. We also head into spring break time, which we get some cool matchups that we'll tell you about that guys start to, or teams start to say, hey, let's go somewhere else and play a little bit, like Daytona Beach or South Florida and others. So it's a lot to get to here on No Gate Fees on this Wednesday afternoon in the middle of March. Hamby, Covenant update, please.
10-4 ball club. We got a big win Monday night over Eagles View, who's our district rival. That was a good ball game. Our ace threw a complete game. 5-1, I believe the score was, and that was a big one for our school because of that rivalry. And then last night we dropped one, 3-2 against Menendez. It was a good group, and we got a nice relationship with the head coach over there, so it was good to play him and see him. But man, I think we must have had 8 guys left on base, and we were getting shut out into the last inning. We had leadoff guy on 4 out of the first 6 innings, nothing, and we finally scored 2. Had the tying run on third base with 2 outs, and the guy on the bump for them broke 3 straight breaking balls. 1-2, 2-2, went back to it 3-2, froze our cleanup hitter. If I were him, I would have been selling out for the heater as well because the other 2 curveballs weren't there. I'd be selling out. He kind of frozen with it. Ball game.
There we go. So 10-4, man, pretty good. I forgot to ask you about that game with Eagles View, so apologies for not checking in on the big Monday nighter, but that's a good win for you guys. Also, little revert back to last week when we were doing some of the best venues in softball, baseball in the area, and you got a chance to firsthand go out and check out Paxton, and Hamby texts me right away, and he's like, hey, I think we missed this one. Paxton's pretty cool out here, so you like. I hadn't seen a game out there, too. Maybe I got to get out more, so apologies to everybody at Paxton, but good place to be.
Yeah, I got to pull a picture, but, yeah, that was a cool one. They had this little stadium feel and the brick behind, and, I mean, good gosh, they could swing it. I mean, not that I was, selling them short, but I just didn't know what their lineup looked like, and 1 through 9, they could bang. I mean, look out for Paxton now. They got a lot of, we only saw one pitcher, so I can't speak to that one way or the other. How many arms they got, what those look like. But 1 through 9, and we threw some decent velo at them. They knocked the ball over the yard all night.
Yeah, well, Paxton, both actually, baseball and softball, seem to be pretty good, and softball off to a nice start once again. So pretty cool stuff. We had some good games in the area. What do we see? What were we just talking about before we came on? I get them all confused. I look at them like all last night, and then I try to remember them. But Bishop Snyder played Trinity. Lost 5-4. Does that sound right? I think they played recently. Just got another one last night. That might not have been 5-4, but It might have been 5-4. And then Tokoi beat Clay last night, either
That's a
by
good win.
5-4 or 3-2 or something like that. So that was, and those are the top two teams in our high five power poll. Creekside got a good win in baseball. They've played such a tough schedule to start. They disappointingly, I say that from the Creekside side of things, but I think they would say this, disappointingly lost the way they lost to Bartram. They got swept Thursday, Friday, and after a nice win over Spruce Creek earlier in the week. They get a win last night to bounce back over Columbia, who's a good team. And Creekside's now like 5-5, but they've played the toughest schedule in the state of Florida at last check. Trinity continues to do its thing. St. John's Country Day continues to be powered by Stratman and also Harris. And I did tweet this over the last week. Harris is striking out like some insane amount of people, some crazy percentage of batters for St. John's Country Day. And he actually was a guy that was on Trinity last year.
Right.
And went to St. John's Country Day. Can you imagine how loaded Trinity already is? And they could have had him as well. So pretty wild. We've got St. Augustine had a heck of a week last week, beating teams like Beachside and also Tokoi Creek. I think Inglewood might have been in there as well. So a great week for those guys. And they were able to get a trio of wins. Maybe gets them jump-started even more. I think they're like 7-5. We got a lot of teams. I try to look around and see, okay, who are we missing? And in the power poll, especially in public school baseball, it's really hard because there are a lot of teams like 5-5, 5-4, 7-5. Because they're playing people, too. So everybody's beating each other up. I'll give you one surprise last night. In fact, I just saw someone here at the Players' Championship. Their kid plays for Fernandina Beach, which is an outstanding program. They were out to a perfect 10-0 start, and then they lost to Hilliard last night, which was a surprise loss. Hilliard, I was like, maybe I'm missing something. Hilliard looks pretty good. Well, Hilliard's only 2-9, and Fernandina Beach lost to them last night. That was their first blemish of the season. So that one was kind of interesting to look at as well. So over the weekend, we had some good matchups between West Nassau, Creekside, and softball. I saw Bartram Trail played somebody last night, and that was a really good game. Who was it? It was Ridgeview. Ridgeview, really good game. Baker County lost for the first time this season, 3-0 to Baldwin. So that was a good one in the last couple of days. So we've got some scores that, it's fun to watch. I love when we're seeing good on good, and kind of the mystery of the early stages of the season. And we're kind of getting out to the middle of the season because there are a lot of games being played in short order based on the schedule this year, specifically on the baseball side. So it's fun to see how all of this shakes out. All right, one of the topics I want to breeze through a couple of different topics. I don't think they're long form ones, but I've been following along with some of the changes in the NCAA. And I got one yesterday that made me think of this, or maybe kind of talk about it as a topic, and that is the junior college rules. And I wasn't aware of a lot of this stuff. And my kid plays at a junior college, so I've been just introduced to the junior college world probably later than a lot of folks. I always knew junior college was a good route to go. Always knew junior college, really good ball. Both softball and baseball, specifically in baseball around here in the state of Florida. But now I'm finding out a little bit more about that world, and I think it's a fantastic way to go. And I think we're getting to a point now in the climate, which we talk about a lot on the show, the climate of college, getting to college. How do you get to play at the next level? Well, junior college is basically is a great training ground for that. You don't have to sit out. You don't have to redshirt. I mean, you can still at junior college, but you're going to get an opportunity to play against just do the math logically. You're playing against kids your own age, freshmen and sophomores essentially, rather than juniors and seniors and fifth-year seniors and sixth-year seniors at the four-year schools. So it really makes a lot of sense right now, and it's a great avenue to go. I'm thinking more and more, this has already been a good avenue, Hamby. I'm thinking more and more this is the avenue to go in the current landscape of college athletics, and not just in baseball and softball, but maybe a lot of other sports too.
Yeah, but especially in baseball and softball, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, I've talked about it. I've had conversations with my players already. It's like with everything that's happened in the last couple of years, there needs to be an intentional mindset shift for you guys, talking to my players and across, because what it used to be, the stigmas that it used to be is totally different than now. We have these, of course, everybody wants to post that they've committed to the D1 school, and that should be celebrated as such. Like, that's awesome. Like that, but it's harder now than ever. That's obvious. And harder now than ever to play, and not just go, but to play. And, for a kid who's 16, 17 now, who's grown up, and he's seen that, and he's seen that, and seen that, and that's all he's ever dreamed of doing is committing to Florida State, you name it. It actually takes an intentional, I'm going to sit down and think this through and shift my mentality so that why would there ever be disappointment at this in 2025? There should be zero disappointment in going to play JUCO because you're going to play. Like, you got to go where you can play. That's what you think. I think the same thing. Go where you can play and continue your career. And real quick, before we get into these changes, I'll just say, whenever there's these rule changes, like, parents need to hear these things, because part of the reason is because parents don't know, because they didn't go to a junior college, or maybe they did or didn't. But there's differences. And parents just don't know. You did it. I mean, there's like some of these things where I'm like, I'm catching up, and that could hurt, your son, your daughter, of, where you should be pushing. Well, because you don't know exactly the differences and how it would look like and all these things, you're not exactly pushing it. There's all this pressure or whatever to go to the Division I, Division II, whatever school, and this is actually their best opportunity. So anytime we get these rule changes, I feel like everybody, just the more informed you can get about it, you can put your kid in a better spot to go play and actually have success.
Oh, you nailed it, Hamby. I mean, listen, there's a couple of reasons why we do this show. Obviously, if we can help promote local high school baseball and softball and help the kids out in any way and shine a light on what we have a lot of talent in the area, that's certainly one of the reasons why we're doing this show. I mean, I live in this world for the last however many years now with my kids, feel like I at least can know a little bit more about it than if I was talking lacrosse or something else, where I'm not really living in that world. But the bigger part of it is that there's an education to parents. I mean, the real, one of the root things, the reason why this show came about in many respects is because it hit me one time that whether we were in travel ball or at high school, or you're in the cul-de-sac, or just on a Saturday night or a team hotel or whatever it is, all you're doing is talking about all these different things and issues. And there's a lot that you just don't know. The parents are navigating a spot that they don't necessarily know. And
that team hotel hits different,
parents
Brent.
In any way. It does.
You went 0-2 on a Saturday. You traveled 1,000 miles. You went 0-2 on that Saturday. That team hotel is going to be, I mean, you might as well just get out the microphone and just have an open mic.
Especially if your kid went like 1 for 5 or didn't play. I mean, now you're talking about a whole different kind of deal.
And you got charged $20 at the gate.
Yeah. No gate fees for a reason, folks. It's free here. But yeah, exactly. Like that's really where this all came from. So if we can, through my experiences, through Hamby's experiences, or shared experiences when we have people on, or if you want to chat about it, it's really what the idea of this is to help educate. And everything's morphing. We're still all learning about these things. So you educate the kid and the parent and everyone else involved if that's what we're trying to do. So the junior college education to me is it is kind of personal because I'm new to it. And I can just tell you this, if I can help through my own experiences, Kaylee's experience, my daughter, she's the one going to Daytona State. It's been an unbelievable experience. I always talk about this, and I've talked about this for years, find the fit, right? Find your right fit. Don't worry about the tweet. Find the fit that is good. And I was just thinking this yesterday again, multiple times, man, just been such a good fit. And there's ebbs and flows to that, right? There's roller coasters to that. There's probably some months you think it's a good fit, some you don't. But it just seems like it's a really good fit. And so that's really our biggest encouragement to kids. If you want to keep playing, that's awesome. We'll try to find a place to play. That's great. It's hard as hell to play at the next level right now, but definitely still try to find a fit so you enjoy it no matter what sport you're playing. And I just think this junior college way, first of all, it's a bit low risk because you can move in and out if you really don't like it, which you can now anywhere I get, but there's very little restrictions to move in and out of junior colleges. It's inexpensive compared to four-year schools. For sure. And there are certain great benefits from whether it's scholarship-wise or depending on what level you're playing, junior college Division I, II, or III. So let me get to just some of these rule things that I want to, because I really think if you're looking at some of our committed to the uncommitteds, you're going to see a couple today that committed. They're going to junior colleges. And I think a lot of the path is going to be, hey, I want to go play. And this is a great training ground. Look what the college coaches are doing. Hey, we're going to go get junior college kids because it's a great training ground. They've got experience now. And this was specific to football where they said at one point, I don't know if it was last year. Is this the right one I'm seeing? I don't know. It's like 21% of rosters basically were from junior college. And I don't know if it was specific to football or that was across all the sports, but that will give you a little bit of an idea. So anyway, some of the junior college rules, they sent a letter to the NCAA because some of the things are archaic. And so I'm just going to read them real quick. Academic non-qualifiers at a four-year school can regain eligibility after one academic year if they achieve 1.8 GPA over 24 credit hours. A non-qualifying junior college athlete who graduates with a two-year degree must have 48 transferable credits. So double that amount of a four-year school and at least a 2.5 GPA compared to a 1.8 GPA of a four-year school. So they make it harder, actually, for the junior college kid to get eligible for that four-year school, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. Because I know just academically, if you take – there's so many programs in the state of Florida, like if you go to TCC or if you go to Santa Fe, like that's like where the overflow sometimes is to go to Florida State in Florida. You go there as a probationary period, and then you kind of funnel in. A lot of the schools, I think, still is the case where even academically, if you go to like any state school, you really have a good in to be able to go to the Floridas and Florida States from that point on. So it's interesting when I read this that actually the NCAA makes it difficult at times for the junior college athlete to transfer in. Here's another one. Transfers between four-year schools have guaranteed scholarships for the remainder of their five-year eligibility clock. I don't think I knew that.
No.
Junior college transfers are not guaranteed scholarships for the length of their NCAA eligibility. So the folks at the junior college level are trying to change some of these things. Here's another one last one. Athletes in various sports are allowed a limited number of scrimmages. Think of baseball and softball participating in fall ball before the spring season. If junior college athletes participate in more than two scrimmages at the junior college level before transferring, that counts as a season of competition.
That's ridiculous.
So you can use a whole year of eligibility in fall ball.
Two scrimmages.
And that is a big difference. And I can give you this because I know this for a fact because I got a kid at Division II level right now and a kid at the junior college level. Like Ty's team at Flagler, they played only two fall ball games, like two games against other teams. I guess that's the allotment.
Right.
And Kaylee, though, like they played, I think they had like 9 of them on the schedule. It's more robust at junior college where you play more games. But what they're saying is if you play more than 2, you're now academic. I mean, that's a year of eligibility for playing fall ball.
Right.
That's a year.
Like, where did we ever even come up with that?
That seems great. Well, some of the rules, according to this article that they came up with, some of them go back to like the early 1900s, Hamby. I mean, we got to get on with this stuff, right? So, a couple of things here. Definitely, like Hamby said, check the rules and regulations. And hopefully we even said it the correct way because listen, compliance is a crazy thing, hard to understand, but definitely check into it. Secondly, educate on some of the rules that are changing. More on that in just a moment. And thirdly, man, this is really a great vehicle to get to where you want to go, especially if you want to continue playing sports, or maybe even academically, but definitely sports in today's landscape. Go sit on the bench or red shirt or wherever. That might be an okay option, by the way. That's okay. But if you're really just like, I got to play, a lot of times junior college is a good way to go. Now, let me caution you this. Just because you go to a junior college doesn't mean you're going to play.
Sure.
You still got to earn spots. They've got rosters. You've still got to earn the spot to play. It's not a guarantee you'll play. But again, I think it's important to note just from a logic standpoint, you're playing against pretty much people in your 1 or 2 year age window versus in the 4-year school, you're playing against people that are that might be 4 or 5 years older than you. Well,
and more important,
that person is usually going to be better and more mature and bigger, stronger, faster, and everything else.
Absolutely. And it's the age, but it's also the experience. Obviously, it's like, okay, as a pitcher, do I want to go face guys that have had 600 career college ABs or a guy who's got 50 or 0 or 150 at the most or whatever. Like it's also, how used to this talent level are they? How many years have they had to adapt and see it? I'd rather face the 18-year-old not because he's 18, but because he's got 0 college ABs than the freaking 23-year-old with 600 of them.
Love the junior college route. I love there's so many things on the pro side of the junior college thing, the college experience. Now, like anything else, I would just advise parentally, but also a guy that went through it as well, is you still got to find your fit. That never leaves. You still have to find a fit, find a place that you feel like is going to be good, right? You can. That's the most important thing I think you can do when you're picking a college. Again, whether sports are related or not, is find where you're going to fit. Now, some kids I think would fit almost anywhere because they're very adaptable, but other ones have certain things that they really need to be in place. And so I think you got to be honest with yourself and be able to figure those things out. So anyway, that's a little bit of look at the junior college world and some of the rules that are changing. I think a lot of these rules, by the way, makes perfect sense to change, especially in today's landscape. So hopefully that does go. I don't know how close that is to happening, how easy that is to happen, but it seems like some of these things should be like, okay, logic wins the day. Not that the NCAA always works that way, and hopefully makes for a better path. I want to get in some game changer stuff in a bit, but I want to make sure. Let's hit Leah Stevens' interview that we have. We just caught up with her a short time ago, so it will be recorded here from the Players' Championship. And on the way into doing that, let's see. Do you have our buddy Wade Serber? Excellent. So Wade Serber is a young man that we featured. Okay, you're all right. That's okay if you want to do both. You're good. That looked good to me. But Wade Serber is a young man that we highlighted just a few weeks back. I mean, what are we in? Episode 4 of this season of No Gate Fees? He might have been our first one.
He was.
Left-handed pitcher at Atlantic Coast High School. And just this week, he committed to play at Daytona State. So congratulations to Wade Serber, the lefty pitcher. He'll go play down at Daytona State, and a couple of locals already down there at Daytona State on the baseball squad, and he will do the same. And then last week, we highlighted J.P. Espinosa, Oakleaf High School, and are committed to the Uncommitted, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC. And by the way, coaches, once again, nominate baseball and softball players. Softball coaches, where are you? This is a $2,500 scholarship opportunity for your junior or senior that wants to play at the next level, that's under-recruited, and we just want to help get their name out. And you should too. So softball coaches, where are you? And baseball's doing a pretty good job, but we'll take more of them as well. We'll do multiple of these a show if we get a lot of them in. Right now we're pacing pretty good to get 1 or 2 in per show. But Espinosa, we highlighted that last Wednesday. And, Hamby, I'm not sure we can take credit for this one or not. Maybe this one was already, about to happen. But I'm going to chalk it up in the win column for No Gate Fees, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC and committed to the Uncommitted. Because Espinosa, just on Saturday morning, got a text from Coach Carter at Oakleaf. He said, hey, he committed to Santa Fe. So he's going on the junior college route as well, going to play at Santa Fe. So good for him. Wade Serber to Daytona State, J.P. Espinosa to Santa Fe. Meanwhile, we just caught up with Leah Stevens. She's headed to be a Florida Gator next year or in the fall. The 2025 pitcher out of Matanzas, one of the best in the state of Florida, and we just had a chance to catch up with her moments ago. Let's talk some more softball right now on No Gate Fees, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, Perfect Rack Billiards, and Baker Sports. And we go down to Matanzas, and we welcome in one of the best pitchers in the state, Leah Stevens. She is about ready to sign on the dotted line to be a Florida Gator, but right now wrapping up her high school career as well. Leah, good to catch up with you and talk about your high school career, and how excited are you about signing day coming up tomorrow?
Yes, thank you for having me. I am so excited.
I bet that's got to give me an idea of your softball background or maybe your Gator background. Did you grow up a Florida fan? Did you dream of this as a little girl? Is there any of that, or did it just kind of happen that you ended up going to Gainesville?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go play for Florida. Like my dad was a big Gators football fan. And then when I moved down to Florida when I was in middle school, they were the first camp that I ever went to, my first college camp I ever went to. And, I met Kelly Barnhill and I loved watching them on TV. And they were kind of like my big dream school, my big goal. And so to be able to get to go there and with their amazing coaching staff and all the girls, I'm so excited. Like I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. And I'm excited what my future is going to look like.
Yeah, well, they're a heck of a softball team and softball program. How do you think you'll fit in? How does it work in today's landscape? You're obviously very good. The ability to go there makes you very good. But will you have to be patient with all the talent that they have? How much playing time you might get? All those things? Or do you know any of that? How will that work?
I think everyone's playing time is earned. So really what my focus is when I get to college is trying to be the best I can and improve. I'm really excited to work with Coach Steph, who's the pitching coach, because I think that she really can tap into the untapped potential that I have, really get stronger, get faster, get my spin better, everything like that. I really can work on technical skills so that I can be the best I can. And wherever they want me, I'll do anything they want. So
how fast do you throw?
I don't really get radared that often. I would say my best guess is like low to mid 60s, but my biggest contribution, I guess, pitching is my spin. I really rely on that to get swings and misses.
Yeah, and so obviously you throw a variety of pitches, and you get a lot of swings and misses. We were just talking before a little bit ago about 24 strikeouts, which was a school record. You actually did that against Creekside years ago, and then you just struck out 22 against Bartram earlier this year. I mean, do you go into these games thinking you're going to get a lot of swings and misses? I mean, is that part of your game plan? How do I set batters up to actually get the K, or are you okay with the ball just being in play and making some routine plays behind you?
I definitely think more about my spin and not about like the outcome. So when I am going into a pitch, I'm not thinking about trying to strike them out. I'm more thinking, how can I make my ball move the best? How can that be better for my fielders? Because I know that when there is a lot of spin, sometimes that can make it harder to field. But I don't really think about my strikeouts. It's kind of like, when you have a perfect game going, you don't talk about it. It's kind of the same thing with my strikeouts. When I have a lot of strikeouts going on, I don't really talk about it. I don't really think about it. It just kind of happens because I trust what I have going on.
You've obviously put a lot of work into this, but when did you know that you maybe had something special? Like when did it hit you that, hey, I can maybe have a chance to play at the next level and really at the highest of levels?
I think it was probably a little later for me than a lot of people. When my parents did a really good job at kind of sheltering me when I was younger and just instilling the love of the game first and not making it a competition and a way to get to college. They always told me it could get you to college, but you really need to focus on loving the fun when I was younger. So I think it was probably middle school, maybe even my first year of high school when I really realized I could actually go to the highest level in college for softball.
Yeah, and well, here you are. That'll be a cool day tomorrow for you. So congratulations on that part of it. Your story's interesting because you obviously get off to a great start your freshman year. People are like, who's Leah Stevens? Probably, right? They're trying to, who's striking out 24 in a game? That's pretty incredible. And then you have a really get dealt a big hand of adversity in your sophomore year, and you missed that because you can explain it better. I don't know all the medical terminology, but it was combination blood clot / stroke, if I have that correct, and it's very rare what you had your sophomore year, right?
Yeah, that's correct. In simple terms, it was basically a blood clot in my brain that caused a stroke. And that did set me back in my recruiting and in just playing in general. I couldn't play for over a year. So that was definitely something that I had to work through, but I'm better now than I was before because of it. So everything happens for a reason, I think. So I'm grateful that I went through it. And I'm better on the other side. So.
Did you wonder if at that time if you'd play again, or did you always kind of know that if I get on the other side of this, I'll be able to get back on the field?
It was very up in the air. I was actually told I wasn't going to play again, that I should probably let go of softball, that it's too risky to get off medication or whatever. And then it just happened that the cards were in my favor and I was able to return to softball.
Well, you're just a kid still, but I wonder when you go through something like that and now you're on the backside of it where you're playing and obviously going to play for the Florida Gators, how much appreciation do you have now for the game and what you missed that year and the perspective that you have, whether it's a win or loss, a good pitch, a bad pitch, any of those kind of things?
It definitely did change my perspective because now I understand that just being able to play the game is the gift. It's not winning or having a certain amount of strikeouts or being ranked in whatever that Max Prep says or anything like that. Like, it's not the accolades, it's the time spent playing. And so I kind of take everything with a grain of salt now. Like, I'm getting to play, and that is the gift. And I'm just having fun with my teammates, and I get to play at the next level. Like, that is a gift. So it doesn't matter how well I do. I still try my best, but everything is just a gift.
Are you softball all the time, or are there other things that you really like to do? Wish you could play another sport, and softball, or give us a little bit more about Leah Stevens.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of hobbies. I love to try new things. So my friends and I are always going around and, fishing or going to the beach, going on the boat, to trying yoga. My next big thing is I want to try skydiving. That's
Whoa.
on my bucket list. So I really like to try new things, painting, really everything. I like to do it all.
That's pretty well rounded. And by the way, part of the reason you go to Florida, aerospace engineering, if I got that right, which is really interesting because you were picking from right down the road Embry-Riddle, which obviously would have a really good program, and Florida has a really good program. Now that's two different softball levels, and Embry-Riddle was probably like, heck yeah, man, we'd love to get Leah Stevens, but Florida ends up with you instead. Why aerospace engineering? Speaking of some skydiving.
Yeah, I've always been interested in math and science, and I've really been good at that. But when I moved to Florida in middle school, my dad and I would go to watch rocket launches, and just seeing that in person really sparked my interest. And I just think it's so cool. Like, just everything about rockets fascinating. Learn everything about college.
That's really cool. Just don't let anybody hit a rocket off you. That's what you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, as you wind this down, and you guys are still got a pretty good chunk of your season to go, I always ask this to the kids that come on the show, the players, if you will, that come on the show. There's high school and then there's travel ball, and sooner or later there'll be college only. But what's the difference for you? What are there? I'm sure you like things about both, but what's they're two different animals, right? Travel ball and high school, and how do you view both?
I think they're different developmentally. For travel ball, a large majority of my time was about recruiting, and it was about me doing the best I can, getting seen by and I'm more of a pitcher only. I don't really play other positions or hit in travel ball. But then in high school, it's all about the team and getting as far as you can. So I do hit in high school ball, and it's really a developmental thing for everybody. So I think travel ball sometimes can be isolating because it's really like your own journey trying to get recruited and things. But high school ball, I feel like you're really working for the team. And that's really what I like the most about it, is that you get that camaraderie with high school ball.
Yeah, very good answer. All right, let's wrap up with this, and we'll let you go. Leah Stevens from Matanzas, outstanding pitcher, obviously headed to the Florida Gators. I'm sure because you've already had a lot of accolades, and people in your area probably know, or people in the softball world probably know who you are and what you've done and your prowess on the mound. But that's about to go up a little bit when you're a Florida Gator. Are you ready for that part of it? Like, there are probably little girls that are going to come watch you play and maybe want your autograph and things like that. Do you feel any, I guess, it's probably pretty cool, right? But also, is there any sense of responsibility in that sense?
Definitely. I think there's always responsibility when other people look up to you, and especially because softball is a growing sport, there are more young girls getting interested in the sport. So I'm really excited to be a role model for young girls, especially like the academic side too, to show them that it is a good thing to be interested in STEM and to be a good student and a good athlete. You can do both. It isn't just one or the other. So I am excited to take on that new responsibility. I'm more of a private person, so that's going to be something I have to kind of learn how to do and be more open. But I'm really excited about that because I love kids and I love the opportunity to learn that softball provides.
Good for you. Doing a great job. Congrats on an awesome career, and good luck with the Florida Gators. But first, good luck the rest of this season in high school, and then signing day tomorrow. Hope you have an awesome time. Thanks for taking a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much.
That is Leah Stevens, and she's pretty cool. Pretty cool story. Nice young lady, and obviously heading to Florida, so wish her the very best. She's going to be a good one for the Gators. And again, they're just, I was talking to her a little bit about this kind of before the interview. She came down from Virginia, her family from Virginia, and then came down in the middle school time and landed at Matanzas. And Matanzas is an interesting thing for section of the area for us because technically they're not really in our viewing area, at least on TV. That's how we kind of look at things. CBS 47, Fox 30. I think they get the Orlando channels, but then she was saying, I don't know, I think we do get Jacksonville stations sometimes. So it's like right on the fringe down there. And I know they play a lot of the area schools that are in our viewing area. So it was nice to have Leah Stevens on the show. We wish her the very best. All right, we're going to check out some more committed to the uncommitted. We're going to check out high school high five power polls in public school, private school, and also softball. So we do public, private in the baseball. And then also Hamby, I can't tell, he's brought this up a couple of times. I can't tell if you like GameChanger or not. So we said we'd talk about this at some point. I don't know if you need a therapy session on GameChanger.
Oh, no.
Or where you're at 20-something years old. You like it?
No, yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. And this was a cool one for me because it started really with a conversation that we had last year on No Gate Fees, just about how, the difference between travel ball and high school ball and just how much the kids know each other, right? And, all the kids that have coached travel ball for 5 years now, and it's like every team that we play, no matter where it is, they know somebody on the other team. And I'm just like, holy cow. Oh, yeah. And that grows and grows, and then school ball wise, right? I'm like, okay, is that it's the same thing. School ball, no matter who we're playing, they know somebody. I'm like, was that only just because of travel ball? Because you see these guys often and guest players, and they know this guy and that guy because of that. And then I realize that it's the combination of travel ball plus GameChanger. Because a couple of weeks ago, as soon as we get done with a high school game, the guys that have phones, we got a lot of 14, 15-year-olds, some of them still don't have phones. They're asking pops for the phone, not so they can check social media, not so they can check ESPN. They want to check GameChanger because they want to see how this team did, how many innings that guy threw, if that guy got a hit. Up and down the list, this is not just one guy on our team. We got a bunch of them. And it's literally GameChanger. I think it's cool because it's like the new ESPN. Like, that was never a thing when I was in, at least I don't remember, in high school. Like, I knew a lot of guys from travel ball. I played it all, Jacksonville I played for, my whole life. These guys know, and it's not just the kids, the parents. I'm like, the parents come, oh, I know that guy, I know that. I'm like, how do you guys know any of the, they're following it on GameChanger. It's insane. It's insane. I want to know what this average screen time is on GameChanger of the conglomerate of high school baseball parents. I'm not sure how it is in softball, so I can't speak to it. But baseball wise, it's like as soon as even during our game, guys are checking other scores and see where they're at in their lineup and how many pitches this kid threw and everything. And it's just wild. I love it.
It's the greatest, in one sense, it's like the greatest parental invention ever. And I know you're bringing up the kids, which is an interesting side of it, but the parenting side of it, like especially for, I know like a dad I was just talking to today, he's on the road and not going to be able to see a game. I try to make as many games we can all the time. We're up in Indianapolis. I missed a couple of Kaylee's games, GameChanger. We got it going. They actually didn't do GameChanger down there, and Steph is like queen of GameChanger. So I was
Okay.
hey, Steph can do it for all the parents like that are up. Hey, we got a couple girls from Canada and stuff, so she does it for them. And now you're like, okay, we can follow along. I know video now is a thing, but not everybody's got the video, and you never know when that stuff's working. The one bad thing about NFHS Network is the score is usually always wrong. So GameChanger in the baseball softball world is a lifesaver for parents.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, not just me, by the way, and I know you know this because I know enough people that I've talked to about it. I'm not saying you know this, Hamby, but moms and dads know this, is that they'll be sitting on that GameChanger, and you're just waiting for that pitch to be thrown by the whatever AI tool that's on there or something, and it's like, come on, throw the damn ball. And then there's sometimes there's this huge delay. And usually if it's in a critical moment, you're like, oh, shoot, something just happened because the parent is trying to figure out how to score it. And something just happened. Is it going to be good or is it going to be bad?
We got a single with a two-base error. This guy scores on the RBI. Yeah. That one's an unearned run. That one's earned.
I mean, if you're a kid, you're watching your kid on GameChanger taking at bat, and you're the kid's in an 0 for whatever slump. And you're almost closing your eyes as that pitch is coming in. You play games with yourself just trying to think, oh, man, I hope he got a hit. I hope he's going to end up on first base. Whatever. Or if the pitcher, the same deal. There is actually, I mean, it's. I don't know if everybody's like that. I know there are enough people like that. So that really watch GameChanger. And what I don't know is if there are other tools like this in other sports. Does basketball have that? In some. So you can follow along in youth basketball, lacrosse, soccer, you name it. Do we all have? I don't even know if GameChanger ventures into other sports like that.
I think they have basketball.
Baseball. Do they? They probably. I mean, listen. The answer is yes. They probably have it. Why wouldn't they copy this kind of thing and make it happen? Again, Dick's Sports now owns GameChanger. They bought it.
Oh, is that right?
It's just an incredible tool. And so they bought it years ago. And then I always told Steph and other people, I'm like, man, if we could put video on this, well, they figured it out, right? They attached the video to it. Now they cut up the clips for the recruiting side. They've really done a good job with it. Now, there's a bad side to GameChanger.
Uh-oh.
And it's twofold, potentially. What do you mean, uh-oh? You don't already know this?
No,
the bad side to GameChanger is the fact that most of the moms and dads or whoever else keeping score have no idea what they're doing. So, they have no idea what they're doing to score a game. So, stop looking at the stats so much. So, what I always would say, we actually were around, I would say most times, at least while we've been in this window of looking at GameChanger, we're around people that tried to keep a good. I'm not talking about the 10-year-old level. I'm talking about in the high school level. That tried to keep a really good GameChanger. And they they made an effort to do it. I actually think Steph's pretty good at it. And she'll ask around. She's like, is that an error or not, right? Because I kind of make her you got to do that.
We need a tutorial,
especially
Brent.
if it's got to do with your kid. No, you got to do it. And some of it's tricky because how do you want to rule it? But trust me, there are some teams in town that I watch play high school baseball.
Everything's
and
a hit.
I saw their GameChanger after. And keep in mind, that GameChanger goes to max preps.
Yep.
The GameChanger stuff goes to max preps, which then gets consideration for all this other stuff. And I don't have a better way to do it, so it is what it is. But this GameChanger, I remember one instance, and it's a pretty high-profile team, and I was like, did they really give those hits? This is worse than Major League Baseball right now, giving hits for that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you've got to really my point is there's a margin of error with GameChanger. So whatever stats you see, I don't know what the error you want it to be. It could be 5%, 3%, whatever percent. Just always take it with a grain of salt that, okay, that might not have been. I know for a fact there have been times at GameChanger, I would do Kaylee, I would keep an eye on whatever Kaylee's ERA was or something. And I was like, she should have allowed 3 more runs today. That was not, I wouldn't have given it an error. But it was a 50-50 play, and the coach gave it an error instead because they were keeping it, I think, in the dugout at that time. And so it sometimes helps your kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hurts your kid. Like there's a
Brent.
balance there. But just so you can't get stuck on the stats. But the point is, Hamby, the reason why they're going to watch is not just a buddy. They're actually going to watch and see their stats, too. Like they want to see the stats, which I think can be a bad thing. But I also feel like in baseball and softball and this kind of failure sport, I actually give the kids some credit for being able to deal with it and see it. Like being able to be like, oh, shoot, I'm only hitting 200. Like you gotta be willing to go look at that. Like back in the day, you hardly knew. If you didn't keep it yourself, you had no idea what you were hitting, really.
That's what we did at Providence.
Now
we did it.
Everybody knows what you're hitting.
The coaches printed it out for us. This was, I guess, GameChanger I'm sure existed, but they'd print it out for us and put them up there because you got to know. So that was interesting. But yeah, I think I'm going to actually go into a new business venture. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know if YouTube, or I'm just going to go straight to masterclass, but I'm going to have just a tutorial step-by-step on, look, if little Johnny hits a 16 hopper to the third baseman and he boots it 15 times and he falls down out of the box and he would have been thrown out by 15 feet, it's not a hit if he takes it and then throws it into right field. Or look, the most common one is that, in all seriousness, is if the guy's going to beat it out and the third baseman throws it 15 feet over the first baseman's head, it's still a hit. If he's going to beat it out, it's a hit. And apparently we don't know that. Not to say my guy doesn't know that. Our guy does a good job, and he actually asked me most of the time, so I feel like I got a decent feel. But, oh my gosh. The interesting. I rarely look at the stats. No, it's not. I rarely look at the stats of the teams we're playing. But like as a guy who, self-admittedly, like I don't know a lot of the kids now that we're facing. Not that I don't go crazy with game plans, because here's a PSA to anybody who calls pitches and calling pitches in high school baseball sucks. It's terrible. And I'm not just saying, and hey, we got like a 1.5 ERA. So I'm not saying this because our pitchers are getting ripped all the time. I'm saying it because I'll throw a guy a heater, their 3-hole, and he'll yank it foul down the left field line, way out in front. I'm like, all right, well, here comes your hunky-dory, flip a little curveball, and then he'll stay on it and hit a piece to the right center field gap. And I'm just like, what in the world is happening? Or he'll get blown up by a fastball. He'll get blown up by a fastball. I'm like, well, that's all he's seeing. Not going to throw him anything else. And I flip a combio in there, and he yanks it down the left field line. I'm like, these guys are more unpredictable than the parent calling GameChanger.
That is actually very true. You have to be very careful because, like, you're like, okay, does the kid really know how to hit? Is he thinking this way, or is he just hitting? And so you can you can outsmart yourself big time. But the GameChanger, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I mean, we've looked at that GameChanger and those stats like a lot, like all the time, and you can get wrapped up in them. But I will say something you just said was interesting. If you go look at other people's GameChanger stats, I almost never would be like, oh, okay. Like you might acknowledge like, hey, it looks like somebody's playing pretty well, but I've always thought that ain't the real deal. Like there's a major margin for error both ways, good and bad. But it does give you a little bit of a sense. I mean, I don't think anybody can really sugar it that much to really change. If somebody's hitting 400, it's probably hitting 420 or 380, not probably hitting 240, It's probably that would be a big difference. I'll give you a funny story about GameChanger. Went to, Ty is sophomore, junior year, Ty couldn't buy a hit, man. And so I talk about it all the time. You just couldn't buy a hit. And I think it was like that time frame where you're just hitting 300 or 280 or 300 foot fly balls and everybody's catching everything, And but I remember 2 instances that year, and Steph's keeping GameChanger, and I look on it later and I'm like, it'd be like one of those in-betweeners for sure, or a ball I don't know, that you beat off the first baseman, goes and fields a ball towards second base, and you end up beating him out, and she'd give it an error or something. I'm like, what are you doing? We need a hit here somewhere. Can you at least give him you're his mom. I mean, have people complain about this first. I mean, we need 2 hits to get over 200 right now.
We got to get over the century mark.
I remember that. I was like, Steph, you're I was like almost mad. I was like, you're screwing them.
That's great.
And then other times she'll be like, is that an error? Like, we really talk about it a lot. Some of them are really hard to call. Like, we had one yesterday because softball, like, we have a girl like slaps.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she has such good barrel control. She had like run around second, nobody out. She doesn't square to bunt because she doesn't have to. She can put the ball in play like right at the third baseman to move the runner and see what happens. Like, so it's like that check swing variety. And she's like, so is that a sack or not? And I'm like, it's really not a sack. But because we know who she is and that's what she does, like, you could really put it down as a sack. Her intention is to just move the runner and give herself up. Now, if something else happens, it happens. But it's not like a square to butt. You know, just you run into some scoring situations with GameChanger where it actually educates you on the game, and you have some good discussions coming out of it, which I really like. So anyway, try to get your GameChanger to be as accurate as possible, please. And secondly, make sure you have like a margin for error on it because it is not
plus or minus 50
true
points.
Indication. Yeah, you get to the point where it's like, and you can get a lot of this in high school. Like, somebody gives up like 25 runs, but only like 3 of them are earned. And you really actually can do that in high school because there's a lot of errors behind people, you know? But it's like, all right, I mean, do they really end up with like a .001 ERA? Or is it, was that really the case? But so anyway, take it as it's a fun deal, though. It is a cool thing because they do deep dive numbers now. It's like next level numbers on the advanced stuff, from quality at bat to, you know, the one I actually never had really paid attention to until I saw GameChanger and I kind of liked it was BABIP.
Oh yeah,
batting average, ball in play.
Balls in play. Yeah.
And I was like, but that's actually a cool one to see because you know how much I think strikeouts in high school baseball are huge. Strikeouts and walks, high school baseball, huge.
Yep.
And so it's like, are we putting the ball in play? Like, I think that would be a great one I would lean on if I was a coach, because I would say, we just got to put the dang ball in play, and let's just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily getting hits, but let's just see what happens if we're striking out 12 times a game. It ain't helping.
Brent, real quick before we get to our power polls.
It's fun.
One of our assistant coaches yesterday was like, look, watch this. He took the stats off of GameChanger, went to ChatGPT and said, hey, create me a lineup based off of these stats, and it spit one out for him. Now, it wasn't exactly the one we'd use, so I hope that there's a little bit of give and take there, and no coaches are relying on ChatGPT to make their lineups, but it did spit one out.
You should have went with it. I mean, do that once for me. Go with the ChatGPT lineup.
It wasn't terrible,
awesome,
but it wasn't optimal.
It wasn't?
No, our cleanup guy was hitting first. Our 9-hole was hitting sixth, and some stuff like that. But
hey, Ohtani hits first. He leads
true.
off sometimes.
It's true.
Judges let off. That ChatGPT might know better than you guys.
Yeah, that's okay. So Boone's relying on ChatGPT. Thanks for confirming.
Just ask the parents. That's great now. They're going to go, hey, the parents are going to have not only GameChanger and everything else against coaches to have for ammunition, but now they're going to have ChatGPT. Look at the lineup you should have.
Anything to score a couple runs.
Classic. All right, hey, let's get to rocking and rolling through. I knew we'd have a fun GameChanger conversation. I love GameChanger in so many ways. It's the greatest. It is the. If somebody could watch, I want to watch GameChanger with a parent just to get the full experience, and wonder if it's the same as mine over the years. Because it's so good, so good. That waiting on that pitch, man. Just waiting on that pitch to be delivered. Come on.
The funniest thing, Brent,
hit the button.
is it's the same with MLB app. When the Braves play,
it's GameCast. Yeah.
One of the 50 games that's blacked out because we can't figure that whole thing out. Ball in play. And the worst one is in play, runs. And you're just like, please be a single. Please be a single, not a 3-run bomb.
That's right. That's it. That is exactly it. Because it will hit in play, and then the scoreboard will change before you get the description. Sometimes that's awesome. So good. That is like real life stuff right there, people. If you haven't experienced it, you will. Or you should. Hey, high five power poll in softball. You got Baker County. They did lose to Baldwin, we bumped Baldwin back into the poll because of that win over Baker County. Columbia continues to play pretty well. I kept them in the 2-hole. I thought I was going to be able to move Atlantic Coast up. We had Coach on last week. They went 4-0. What a start. They won again yesterday over Andrew Jackson. What a great start. I just didn't feel like I could still move them above Columbia and Middleburg. It's close. But I'm keeping those guys there for now based on quality of wins and everything else. I actually thought I'd put Creekside in. They had a terrific weekend, beating Bartram Trail, then West Nassau and Trinity Catholic. But I just feel like Baldwin had to go in. Sorry, Coach Neal. He's probably going to be mad at me. Paxton right on the verge, too. And Episcopal has played all right as well. I think there's a bit of a tiered system here. Let me know if I'm missing anybody. West Nassau has lost like 4 in a row. They play the toughest schedule all the time. They'll be back in the mix here, I think. But right now they have lost 4 games in a row and I think are 2-5. Public school, really tricky. I tried to throw a couple of new ones in here. Tocoy Creek, Clay. I moved St. Augustine into the fold, courtesy of their big week last week. In fact, Coach Tony Kennedy is going to be our Perfect Rack Billiards Coach of the Week. $100 gift card to Perfect Rack Billiards. So thanks to Corey Goff and company, and we'll get that to Coach Kennedy. He was going to join us today, but I don't think we could connect. They're on the road to play Clay tonight, I believe it is.
That'd be a good one.
So we get St. Augustine in the mix, and overall they're like 7-5, but they're playing really well, and a huge win over Tocoy Creek as part of that trio of wins last week for St. Augustine. And this will tell you how muddy it is right now. I'm throwing Keystone Heights in there and Fernandina Beach, even though they lost to Hilliard. They were off to a 10-0 start. It's kind of tough after that. I mean, again, call me out. It's fine. Who do you want in there? Who should be in there? But it's tough. Tocoy Creek and Clay, I think, have a little bit of separation for me. They played a really good game. Tocoy Creek won last night, I think it was, by 1 run. I didn't even change the private school one, guys. Trinity Christian, St. John's Country Day. Snyder goes and plays Stoneman Douglas as part of their spring break, it looks like. Play a few games down south. That'll be an interesting one. Providence continues to play pretty good ball. Episcopal right there. Might have Coach coming on the show in the next couple of weeks there for Episcopal. They're 10-2. And I think Bowles still on the outside. They lost a game out of the area yesterday. And we've got teams like St. Joseph Academy, University Christian, I think that could fit right in there. Maybe someday we'll get the Covenant Warriors in that mix. So that is your no gate fees, high five, power poll, private school, public school baseball, and then the entirety for softball. And again, I don't mind if you yell at me here. And are we missing something, missing somebody? Let us know in the area if they should be on the verge of the poll or in the poll. All right, committed to the uncommitted. We already told you that we had some of our committed to the uncommitteds that have committed in the last week. And so congratulations to them on the baseball side. Espinosa and Serber going to Daytona State and also Santa Fe. And Coach Randall and Bryant from West Nassau sharing these young ladies. Lauren Rosepeiler, she's a junior. And we'll also get Vita Kersey, a catcher, in here sooner than later as well. She, too, is a junior. But Lauren hit .338 last year, only 3 strikeouts. Middle infielder, left-handed slapper. She can fly, 11 stolen bases as well. And meanwhile, Vita is a catcher, played some in the outfield last year because they had a really good catcher in Sid English who now is playing college softball. And she has thrown out 4, picked off 2, just 1 pass ball in 7 games. And she does have a home run and a few stolen bases. So defensively, very strong. And the offense will come around Vita Kersey as well as Lauren Rosepeiler. Those are committed to the uncommitted, presented by Nimick Buick GMC for this week. And we'll keep an eye on them. They're juniors. They got big summer ahead. So they're a class of 2026. All right, we're running out of time already. Let's get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with us here on No Gate Fees, presented by Ninthic Buick GMC, Perfect Back Billiards, and Baker Sports from the Players Championship. The show replays 6 o'clock on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can always find it on social media. Send us your nominees for Coaches of the Week. Send us your nominees for Committed to the Uncommitted, baseball and softball, juniors and seniors, and send us your topics that you want us to talk about each and every week here on the show. Have a good one, everybody.